We have Gukesh here who enters in to the game. He meets the experienced chess journalist Leoncio Garcia there. And Gukesh is going to play with the white pieces against Aravindh Chithambaram. Very important clash for him as he is on a 50% score right now, 5 points out of 10. And if Gukesh wants to have any realistic chance to fight for the top spot, he needs to win this game against Aravindh. His game before the rest day, where he played, he did beat Yas Khan Erdogmus. And now look at today. It's a Friday evening in Wykanse, Netherlands, and the clock has started. Gukesh opens the game with pawn to d4. Aravindh, as always, comes maybe a few seconds late to the game, a minute or so, and there he arrives, a handshake. And this, dear friends, is the ambit recap of the day. Aravindh takes his chair, and he also scored his first win of the tournament against Taiwan. And in the previous round, he plays d5, adjusts all his pawns, and presses the clock. Now Gukesh here is totally focused, plays his knight out to f3. And I think what Gukesh doesn't want is maybe Queen's Gambit accepted with the pawn to c4 move, and that's why he plays now c4 after 2 knight f3. So pawn to c4, e6 played. This is the Queen's Gambit declined. And he brings his knight out to c3. Aravindh brings his bishop out to e7, all very standard stuff. Bishop to g5 is the main move here, but Gukesh goes bishop f4, which is also one of the main lines. Black castles here, and Gukesh plays his pawn to e3. b6 played, which is one of the ways to play here. There's also c5, there's also knight d7. b6 played, he plays his bishop to e2. Nothing fancy, nothing special, just developing here. And pawn takes on c4. Gukesh takes back, bishop takes c4, and now bishop to b7, getting the bishop on the long diagonal. Queen goes to e2, and pawn to c5 played by Aravindh. Wants to get his knight to c6 or d7. White castles here. And pawn takes pawn taken. If knight takes, if pawn takes, knight c6 is equal. So he takes with the knight, and Gukesh has now made the structure symmetrical, but he has a small lead in development. So he will be trying to press for a little bit more in this position. Now nd b5 is a nice move. He takes on c6, which is also an interesting approach. And Aravindh has to be very careful here, because when you are playing with the symmetrical structure and you get into a passive position, often it is a recipe for disaster. So bishop c6, now bring the rook to d1. He brings it, attacks the queen here, and you go queen to c8. So he brings his queen to c8. The plan is to maybe put the queen on this diagonal. The only move to put real pressure on this position is knight b5. And Gukesh finds it. Beautiful move. And now if imagine queen b7, I go knight d6, hit your queen, and after bishop d6, I have an intermezzo, bishop a6, and then I take on d6, which gives me a very good position, which is why Aravindh goes a6. And now knight to d6. He finds it. A good move. Knight d6. Now bishop takes d6. You go with taking with the bishop. You must take. And Gukesh takes with the bishop, attacking the rook. So you are a pawn up. You are a double bishop position here for white. It's a risk-free advantage. The bishop has to move. I think bishop e5 makes a lot of sense. Keeping the bishop, and now all sorts of threats in the position. Taking on f6, going with the queen into g4, trying to attack in this position. So rook takes d1, check. Rook takes on d1. And bishop d5 played. So now if you take on f6, I have queen takes c4, which equalizes. So I don't want to take it immediately. But if I move my bishop away, then a2 is hanging. But he does it. Gukesh is telling Aravindh, take this pawn. But then he would take on f6, and then the h7 pawn becomes weak. So first Aravindh goes back and attacks the bishop on e5. So you have to move the bishop, and I think moving it to c3 makes all the sense. With that move, then you will have two bishops lined up on the king side. He plays bishop c3, good move. And now bishop takes a2. This seems like a logical move, but Gukesh now has a big move at his disposal, which is queen c2, attacking h7. But more importantly, and he finds it. Wow, brilliant play there by the world champion. Because knight f6, you go queen a4, hitting the bishop this way, then swinging the queen to h4. I love this geometry of how the queen enters the kill zone. Knight f6 played. And by the way, there was a threat of b3 here, queen a4. Because now b3 is very bad because of knight d5. And there's this pin here, and black equalizes. So queen a4, bishop comes to d5, and queen h4. Very powerful move by Gukesh. Aravindh has to tread carefully here. He goes pawn to h6, but in doing so, he's allowing bishop takes f6. Maybe there was another way to play here. Not to worry, because takes, queen takes, you can start running. But anyway, bishop takes knight happened in the game. G takes f6, and now you can take here on h6 point. The idea is to give a check, bishop g6. So take on h6. And now the threat is check, king h8, check, queen h7, queen f7 mate. So f5 blocking the bishop. And Gukesh now has to find the idea with, by the way, bishop f5 doesn't work because of ef5. You can't take here because of simple back rank mate. So that's the reason why he finds queen g5 check, king goes to f8. And now you can see one of the big assets that white has is the h pawn, because it's free to move forward. He plays h4, and Gukesh is winning almost. Decisive edge, bishop b3, and that's a big mistake. Here Gukesh goes rook a1, but that's an error. He should have played bishop a6, which is a tough move, because if rook a6, there's queen d, rook d8 wins. If queen a6, you go rook d7, a tough move. Threatening queen f6, mate here and here, and if e5, h5, and you have to assess that you are winning here. But Gukesh missed this. He goes rook a1, a5, and now queen h6. He's still better for sure, but he has to be very careful now. Queen check, king will go back. He's trying to gain time because he has to reach move number 40, 17 minutes on the clock. And plays bishop e2. Okay, the bishop was taking away the d3 square. He wanted to c2 square, but now he wants to come on this diagonal, very quickly, stopped by Aravindh. There's this beautiful move e4 now. where after bishop e4 you can go rook c1. The queen starts to protect and attacks here, but he plays queen h6 check first, king e7, and once again will he find e4? No, he repeats queen g5. Smart play by Gukesh. He's like, if I get 30 more minutes on the clock, then I will be able to put pressure. Queen f6. But that's a mistake because now queen d8. I think e4 was very important move. Queen f6. And now queen d8. Aravindh needs to find this move, offering a trade of queens. If the queens are traded, black king can easily blockade the h pawn. Then there's nothing to worry about. He finds it. So of course Gukesh does not trade. He gives a check. The king comes up to e7. Check. King f8. Check. King e7. And now how to keep the game going? The rook comes to c1 and now queen g8. What a lovely move, because with this you are attacking g2. You've got your counterplay. Bishop f1 defended. Now queen g6 and rook g8. You're happy to trade pieces. And rook c7 check isn't that dangerous. Second come king d6 or king d8. He goes queen h8. Gukesh trying to look at the screen, how much time is left, how many moves are left. 3 minutes 54 seconds and one move to make. He goes for a check here and 40 moves are done. Aravindh now plays king d6. You can see Aravindh, of course, tired and exhausted because he has had this tough job of defending, not an easy position. But I think he's getting there. He has managed to, instead of having the king on the side and the queen in the center, he's replaced them. The queen is now here. The king is here. By the way, attacking b2. e4 played. Whoa. e4. Because if fe4, by the way, Gukesh thought for e4 for almost 7 minutes. Queen f4 check is a strong move. King e7, then rook jumps in. So that's the reason why he takes with the bishop. Now if queen f4 check, then you have queen e5. Notice that if you had played this queen here and queen e5 doesn't work because of queen f7. So these little tactics, bishop e4, he goes queen g3 check. And now queen e5 does not work because of rook e1, rook d1 check, bishop d5 and queen a3. Whoa, crazy how Gukesh is playing here, tricky, and Aravindh finds the best defense with king e7, queen a3 check. By the way, just so that you know, if rook c7 check, king f8 and he's safe. So he first gives this check, king comes up to f6. Aravindh has been defending this like crazy and Gukesh has been trying to create his chances also like crazy. King g7, another great move. And now he goes queen e7, trying to attack here and also threaten queen g5 check. The rook comes to f8. Somehow Aravindh is just so sure about his defense here. And also notice he's a pawn up. So Gukesh needs to tread carefully. By the way, threatening rook g3 check now. And trying to mate down the g and h file. Queen h6. Rook g3 check. He goes queen d6 first. Now b6 is hanging. So rook comes to g8. The pressure is on the g2 pawn. Queen takes b6. king h7, and queen takes a5, taken. Pawn to f4 played. Now the thing is, here queen h4, by the way, was also possible. Queen a3 with the idea of rook h3, because if you play directly, I can take. There's a pin here. But he plays f4 first, and now maybe there's rook c5, threatening rook h5, and if you play f5, I have rook c7. But he goes queen b4, attacking this bishop. Bishop comes to d5. And the queen goes to e7. A queen e8 played. And queen takes h4. Taking here. And rook d8, trying to checkmate on the h8 square. He goes queen g4. And bishop takes g2, now a big threat. Check. King g6. And rook g8. Whoa. And if you take here, then this is a losing endgame, because I have an extra passer outside. I'll keep the queens on the board. So he goes king f6, again finds the best move, b4. Gukesh starts to push, queen g6 played, and b5. He's pushing the pawn, and oh, just in time, he gets to trade the queens. Gukesh now plays queen takes h7 with just 7 seconds on the clock and plays b6. Now the bishop controls this square. King e5 is a lovely move to play f5 and control this. So somehow Aravindh has managed to equalize this. And now, well, at some level, if Gukesh is not careful, white can even start pressing somehow. Black can even start pressing. Rook c7 takes, pawn takes, and now bishop b7, stopping the pawn from queening. And next up, king d6 and taking the pawn. Well, things really shifted quickly from Gukesh pressing to equal, and you can see Gukesh there looking in that direction, saying like, what did I miss? But you still have to make sure that you are able to hold this to a draw. King d6, good move by Aravindh. And now g4 played. If you play f4, then I have the g pawn, so don't want to risk it. fg4 taken. Bishop e2. Maybe g3, but then I make a queen and king g2. So takes, bishop g4, and finally Aravindh is like, take it Gukesh, take the pawn, let's draw the game. And he takes, draw there. What a game this was. And Gukesh, of course, the one to be more upset than Aravindh. He was pressing throughout the game, but there was this one moment where Gukesh could have gotten his chance, and that was this bishop takes a6 moment. It was really an important one, where instead of playing rook a1 here, he should have taken. And yes, this is not an easy bit of calculation for sure. You not only need calculation, you need your intuition, you need this feeling, because after e5, h5, it's not like the game is over by any means. Queen c8, h6, you also give up your rook here, h7, not letting the king come up, and there's a queen that's coming in. So all of these things, calculation would have helped Gukesh win, but after rook a1, somehow his advantage never grew, and Aravindh defended like a beast.